Imagine opening the door to a quiet suburban home, expecting to find nothing more than the remnants of an ordinary life. Some clutter, maybe old furniture, the usual signs of family living. But instead, you're hit with the stench of death, the eerie stillness of buried secrets, and the grim discovery of tiny, lifeless bodies hidden in cardboard boxes. This was no ordinary house. This is the haunting story of Megan Huntsman, a mother whose shocking crimes left even hardened detectives speechless, and whose name is now synonymous with unimaginable betrayal. On April 12, 2014, Pleasant Grove Police in Utah received a deeply disturbing 911 call from a man named Darren West. Having recently returned home after serving time in prison for drug-related charges, Darren was moving back into the family home when he made a gruesome discovery in the garage. His voice trembled as he told dispatch, "I just found something in my garage. It's been wrapped up in plastic. It's a little baby." The chilling nature of the call prompted immediate police response. When officers arrived at the scene, the garage door was already open. Darren stood outside, visibly shaken, surrounded by family members who had been helping him clean. The police quickly learned that while sorting through old belongings, Darren had found a taped-up box. Inside, buried under layers of duct tape and plastic, lay the decomposed remains of a baby. The sight left officers stunned. But this horrifying discovery was only the beginning. The box in question was an ordinary fruit box, yet it had been sealed meticulously, as if someone had wanted to permanently erase its contents from memory. Inside was a bag, tightly wrapped in several more layers. After carefully opening it, investigators found the remains of a fully decomposed newborn. Shock and disbelief swept over everyone present. The garage was packed floor to ceiling with hundreds of other boxes. It quickly became evident that this scene was more than just a case of abandoned property. This was now a homicide investigation. Authorities called the medical examiner's office as they began processing the area. The most pressing question was, who was the baby's mother, and why was the infant hidden instead of properly buried or reported?
What the hell is this? What have you done? I always found something. She goes, "Oh, you did?"
Get that for her.
Don't pop, please. Don't pop, please. Don't get it.
There being some sort of form of tape. As we got deeper into that box, we'd find a second child.
There could be more. Like I said, I can't remember a damn thing.
How many do you think there would be?
Holy what is going on?
Grove Police.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Can I have an officer come to this address?
And your name?
My name's Darren West. I just found something in my garage. I think it's a miscarriage.
Can you be more specific? What do you mean by a miscarriage you found?
I have no idea. Just please send an officer up here.
It sounds like you may need medical.
It's been wrapped up in a plastic bag and it stinks.
Okay, what is it?
All evidence pointed toward Megan Huntsman, Darren's estranged wife. Megan had lived in the home while Darren was incarcerated. Though the couple was still legally married, she had moved on and was living elsewhere with a boyfriend. When police contacted Megan by phone, she initially claimed the baby had been stillborn years ago. Officers told her that detectives needed to speak with her in person and asked her to remain at her residence while a West Valley officer came to pick her up. Meanwhile, neighbors reported that they had noticed strange smells coming from the garage over the years, but never thought much of it. Megan was brought in for questioning by Detective Ben Beckstrom, who began the interview with compassion, but a strong sense that she wasn't telling the full truth. Megan admitted that in 2006, shortly after Darren went to prison, she discovered she was pregnant. At the time, she was using meth heavily and assumed the signs of pregnancy were just stress. One day, she began feeling intense pain and went to the bathroom. There, she gave birth alone. Megan claimed the baby was blue, unresponsive, and not breathing. In shock and not knowing what to do, she said she wrapped the body in plastic and put it in a box, which she then stored in the garage. Detective Beckstrom gently pressed for details. Megan explained that she had tried cleaning the baby's mouth, hoping to revive it, but nothing worked. Terrified and overwhelmed, she lost a significant amount of blood and passed out. When her children returned home from school, she told them she wasn't feeling well. After cleaning up, she retrieved a box and stored the baby's body. When asked why she didn't call 911, Megan responded that she had panicked and wasn't thinking clearly. She insisted the baby had been stillborn. However, Megan's guilt and fear were evident. She appeared nervous and remorseful, stating that she believed she deserved to go to jail. This puzzled investigators. If the baby had truly been stillborn and no foul play was involved, Megan would only be guilty of improper disposal of human remains. Her emotional state suggested a deeper, more disturbing truth.
When this happened, I mean, you're not so young.
I know. But like I said, the drugs, they mess with you. Bad.
So you're telling me that because you were on drugs, you weren't making good decisions?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it feel better to tell the truth?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, just a minute. You know, we've talked about a lot. I don't know yet. We haven't made those decisions because we're doing the search warrant still. Because of the seriousness of this, they are also going to obtain a search warrant for your house in West Valley. Is there anything at that house that we need to know about before we go up there?
For me, no. All that's up there is my clothes.
Okay. So yeah, the baby's been in the garage the whole time.
I never moved them or anything. But yeah, they've been in the garage the whole time.
So
Yeah.
we're talking 8 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, you told me earlier that you put the boxes with the babies in them in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Did you ever take them out of that cabinet?
No.
I imagine in the last 9 years, stuff's been in and out of the
I
cabinet.
think so, because I was just there a month or so ago getting my bed and stuff out of there, and I seen it sitting there.
Right. And so, did anyone in the world know that that baby was in the garage? Okay.
So,
Well, they're saying one of the boxes was on a stack of shelves next to the cabinet. Why would it be there?
unless I moved it or something, but it's not thinking.
Do you know when that might have been?
Before I left, I did. I mean, I haven't been in that house. I've only once since I've moved out.
As officers continued searching the garage, they uncovered a second box. Each box they opened carried an overpowering stench, with a strange liquid seeping from the bottom of the bags inside. The officers immediately recognized something was terribly wrong and reported the gruesome discoveries to Detective Beckstrom. Hoping for answers, Beckstrom confronted Megan Huntsman, unaware of the full horror that was about to unfold. When he informed her that investigators had found a second baby, Megan calmly confessed, "Well, there's more. I'm sorry." She admitted to hiding all of them, claiming that her husband Darren had to have known she was pregnant during most of the incidents. When asked how many babies there were, Megan shockingly responded that she wasn't even sure. She attributed her inability to remember clearly to heavy drug use, methamphetamine, alcohol, and years of addiction. Her confessions revealed a long and horrifying pattern that had persisted for nearly a decade. According to Megan, every child had been stillborn, but her increasingly inconsistent statements painted a far darker reality. Detective Beckstrom pressed further, trying to trace the timeline and understand when these so-called miscarriages had occurred. Megan stated the first incident happened right after they moved into their home. She claimed all the babies were stillborn and not full-term. The detective asked where the 4 bodies were placed, and she admitted they had all been kept in the same cabinet in the garage. Megan said she kept them hidden because she was scared, afraid people would know she was pregnant, worried about being judged for having more children at a young age, and deeply ashamed. But even with that fear, the explanation didn't seem to justify her shocking decisions. As the detective probed deeper, it became increasingly clear that Megan was hiding the truth. She spoke of being overwhelmed, young, and under the influence of drugs, all contributing to her poor decisions. Megan told investigators she never moved the boxes and that they had remained in the same location in the garage for years. She claimed that no one, not even Darren, knew what was inside. However, officers at the crime scene found one of the boxes outside the cabinet, which directly contradicted her statement. Detective Beckstrom then pushed Megan for clarity on the conditions of the babies at birth. She began to break down. In one case, she admitted that the baby was alive for a short time. She had seen a heartbeat before it stopped. Another baby, born while she sat on the toilet, was also potentially alive, though she couldn't be sure. She described another child born on her bed in Portland, who may have also been briefly alive. Eventually, she admitted something even more chilling. She had killed the babies. One may have been stillborn, she claimed, but the others had been alive when born, and she had taken their lives. When asked directly if she had killed the babies, Megan hesitated, but ultimately answered yes. She described wrapping them in towels, placing them in garbage bags, and hiding them in boxes in the garage. She claimed fear and drug use clouded her judgment and left her paralyzed in shock. The detective asked whether Darren was the father of all the babies, and Megan confirmed he was. No one else had ever known. She had kept this horrifying secret to herself for 18 years. As Detective Beckstrom left the room, the weight of the confession overwhelmed him. He later recalled it as the most difficult interrogation of his career. Back at the crime scene, officers continued their meticulous search, driven by both horror and determination. 3 hours into their search, they uncovered a third body, tightly packed in a box and sealed in layers of duct tape. It was wrapped in plastic and vinyl, deliberately concealed. Soon, they found a fourth body, followed by a fifth, which had been hidden under blankets and bath towels at the bottom of a cabinet cubby. Just when investigators thought they had seen the worst, Megan revealed there might be more. When confronted again, she admitted she couldn't be sure how many babies there had been, suggesting the number could be as high as 8 or 9. She was adamant, however, that no more bodies would be found inside the house. As officers continued their grim task, they discovered the 6th and 7th infants, wrapped in sweaters and hidden inside another box. The gruesome total left everyone stunned. Throughout the interrogation, Megan had made a vague comment that Darren should have known. This raised questions about whether he was aware of the pregnancies or the deaths. When pressed, she insisted he did not know and claimed she had lied to him, saying she had miscarriages. She stated he never asked questions about what happened to the fetuses and accepted her explanations at face value. The detectives found this difficult to believe. How could someone sleep next to her, live with her, and not notice multiple pregnancies over several years? While the search team was still combing through the Pleasant Grove house, they extended their efforts to Megan's former residence in West Valley. Although no additional bodies were found there, investigators did uncover Xanax, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia, further evidence of Megan's chaotic, drug-fueled life. This grim lifestyle helped paint a broader picture of how these horrific events could have occurred under the radar for so long. Megan Huntsman was arrested and booked into the Utah County Jail. She was charged with 6 counts of murder. However, the Darren in question made it clear that the case was far from complete. There were still pieces of the puzzle that didn't quite fit, and investigators needed answers. To fill in the gaps, they brought Darren in for questioning. Detective Beckstrom began the conversation with a calm and non-accusatory tone, assuring Darren that he wasn't in trouble and that the goal was to understand what had happened. He informed Darren that Megan had claimed one of the babies was a miscarriage that occurred after Darren had gone to prison, but the search of their home had revealed multiple bodies, more than just one. Darren could barely speak when he learned that there were 7 infants found in his garage. He admitted to knowing about 3 pregnancies, those that resulted in their 3 daughters, and 1 miscarriage. He claimed that Megan often hid her pregnancies, and he had not known she was expecting until she was well into her 2nd trimester. The idea that she had been pregnant 7 times without his knowledge overwhelmed him. He buried his face in his hands, overcome by emotion, trying to make sense of what he had just heard. Darren maintained that he had only known about the miscarriage and had no clue Megan had been pregnant so many times. He admitted he had been heavily addicted to drugs, which blurred his memories and judgment. However, Detective Beckstrom wasn't convinced. He pressed further, suggesting that Darren must have noticed something. How could someone share a bed with his wife and not realize she was pregnant multiple times over a 10-year period? Despite the intense questioning, Darren insisted he had never seen Megan harm a child or even known that any were born and died. He was adamant that he had no part in the concealment of the bodies and that he had never gone into the garage knowing what was stored there. He claimed that if he had known, he would have done something. The detective pointed out that Megan had admitted to killing several of the infants after birth and hiding their bodies in boxes. Darren responded with disbelief and horror, repeatedly stating that he had no idea such atrocities had occurred. Beckstrom continued to push, suggesting that maybe Darren hadn't directly committed the acts, but had allowed Megan to make dangerous decisions while he stood by, either passively or obliviously. Darren continued to deny any knowledge or involvement, saying that even during the time he was cleaning the garage after getting out of prison, he never came across the boxes or suspected anything. The detective acknowledged that if Darren had known about the bodies, it would be unlikely for him to clean the garage so soon after his release. Eventually, Darren requested an attorney, and the interrogation came to a halt. Although Darren seemed like a potential suspect early on, there was no physical evidence linking him to the crimes. As the investigation proceeded, all the physical evidence from the garage, the boxes, plastic bags, and layers of duct tape was sent to the crime lab for analysis. The results were clear and damning. Every single fingerprint belonged to Megan. Not a single trace of Darren's DNA or prints was found on any of the items connected to the infant's remains. Further testing was done by the medical examiner to determine the biological relationship of the children. DNA tests confirmed that Darren was the biological father of all 7 infants. Despite this, one heartbreaking reality stood out. During the decade they lived together, and even after Darren went to prison in 2006, he had no idea that Megan had carried and killed 7 of his children. She had hidden every single pregnancy and murder from him and everyone else around her. On February 12, 2015, Megan Huntsman was formally charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder. She admitted to killing 6 of her children after birth and claimed that the 7th was stillborn. The judge sentenced her to 6 consecutive prison terms of 5 years to life, ensuring that she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. The courtroom and broader public were stunned by the gruesome details of the case and the magnitude of the horror Megan had inflicted. The case left lasting emotional scars on all who were involved, from the detectives and forensic examiners to the family members and the public who followed the trial. It raised haunting questions. How could a mother commit such atrocities? Was it purely the influence of methamphetamine and alcohol, which Megan had long struggled with? Or were there darker motives behind her actions? Megan had successfully raised 3 daughters while secretly giving birth to and killing 7 others. For some, Megan's case illustrated the devastating toll drug addiction can take on the mind, stripping a person of empathy, reason, and reality. For others, it pointed to deeper psychological issues and a lifetime of secrets, shame, and detachment. As for Darren, his role in the tragedy remained controversial. Some believed his ignorance was genuine, while others struggled to believe he could have been so completely unaware. The haunting legacy of Megan Huntsman continues to linger. 7 innocent lives were lost in unimaginable circumstances, hidden away in boxes in a garage for nearly a decade. The justice system delivered its sentence, but for many, closure remained elusive. Was this a crime of addiction, mental illness, or something even more sinister? We may never know the full truth. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon for more interesting videos like this.